How does a person become self-mortifying and addicted to practices tending to self-mortification? Here a person goes naked, is of loose habits, licks his hand clean, does not stop nearer or wait a moment if politely requested to do so, refuses to accept food brought to him, refuses to accept food especially prepared for him, does not accept any invitation, does not accept food from a cooking pot or a pan, does not accept food placed within the threshold, does not accept food placed among the pestles, does not accept food when two persons are eating together, does not accept from a woman with child, from a woman giving suck, from a woman living as a wife, does not accept food offered at consecrated places, does not accept food when a dog is standing by, nor where flies are swarming down, does not accept fish, or flesh, or strong drink, or intoxicant, or sour gruel, begs from one house, eats just one morsel, or begs from 2 houses, eats just 2 morsels, or begs from up to 7 houses, eats up to 7 morsels, keeps himself going on only 1 alms or only 2, up to 7 alms, takes only once a day or once every 2 days, or once every 7 days, conforming in this way to the practice of taking food according to rule, at regular intervals, up to even half a month, feeds on pot herbs, on wild rice, on Navara rice, on dadula rice, on unhusked grain, on grains of rice or scum of rice, on oil cakes, on grasses, on cowding, on fruits and roots from the woods, on fruits that have fallen of themselves, wears coarse hempen cloth, coarse cloth of mixed fibers, wears cloth taken from a dead body, clothing made of dust heap rags, clothing made of bark, the skin of a black antelope, dress made of a black antelope's hide, dress made of kusa grass, garments made of bark, garments made of pieces of wood, hair garments, garments made up of horses' tails, garments made up of feathers of owls. He is a plucker out of hair and beard, addicted to the practice of plucking out both hair and beard. He is a stander up rejecting the use of a seat. He is a squatter addicted to the effort of squatting. He is a bed of thorns man, lying on a bed of thorns. He is addicted to the practice of going down into water thrice a day up to the evening. Thus he dwells addicted to many such tortures of the body. Thus does he become a self-mortifier and addicted to practices tending to self-mortification. How does a person become tormentor of others and remain addicted to practices tending to oppression? Here a person is a sheep butcher, a boar hunter, a deer stalker, a bird catcher, a snarer, a fish killer, a thief, a public executor, a jailer, or a committer of other such cruel acts. Thus does a person become tormentor of others and remain addicted to practices tending to oppress others. How does a person come to combine the characteristics of the above 2 types? Here a person is a king, a crowned monarch, or a Brahmin of great wealth and influence. He having a new sacrificial house built to the east of the capital city. Having his hair and beard shaven. Having put on a black antelope's skin. Anointed his body with clarified butter and oil. Scratching the back with the horn of an antelope. He enters the sacrificial house together with his queen consort and Brahmin priest. There he lies down in a narrow space on the yellow-painted ground. The king lives on the quantity of milk that can be drawn from one udder of a cow with a calf resembling her. The queen consort lives upon the quantity of milk that can be drawn from the second udder. The Brahmin priest lives upon the quantity of milk that can be drawn from the third. The fire sacrifices are performed with the quantity of milk that can be drawn from the fourth, and the calf lives upon the quantity that is left. Thus he commands that so many bullocks be slain for the sacrifice. That's so many bull calves. So many cow calves, bo many goats, bo many rams be slain for the sacrifice, so many trees be cut down to make posts, so much dubber grass be mown to be strewn around the sacrificial spot. The slaves or the messengers or the workmen that are employed carry out his orders impelled by the whip, impelled by fear, weeping with tears upon their faces. Thus a person comes to combine the characteristics of the above two types. How does a person come to bear the characteristics of neither of those two types? He tortures neither himself nor others, and in this world he without any hankering, at peace, cool, enjoying bliss, lives with a self become godlike. Here it happens that a Tathagata is born in this world. An exalted, perfectly enlightened Buddha, enriched with insight and virtuous deportment, walking in the right path, the knower of the world, the unsurpassed, the guide to persons amenable to discipline, the teacher of devas and men, Buddha, the Blessed One, he having come to know and realize by himself this world together with those of the devas, the maras, the brahmas, together with the recluses and brahmins, well as together with devas and men, instructs others about it. He imparts instruction beneficial in its inception, beneficial in its continuation, beneficial in its conclusion, full of meaning, couched in appropriate terms, couched in suitable language. He expresses, sets forth the higher life in its purity and entire fullness. To this instruction does a householder listen or his offspring or one who is born in another family. He listening to this instruction gains faith in the Tathagata. Endowed with this acquisition of faith, he ponders thus. Cramping is household life, a dusty path. Open and wide is the way of renunciation. Not easy is it while living the household life to practice the higher life, full and entire, supremely pure, pure like well-wrought conch shell. I must therefore depart from home into a homeless life, having my hair and beard shaven, covering my body with yellow garments. So it happens that at a subsequent date, he abandoning his entire store of wealth, whether this be large or small, abandoning his circle of relations, whether this be few or numerous, wanders away from home into the homeless state, having his hair and beard shaven, covering his body with yellow garments. Thus initiated into the religious order, while adopting the mode of training and living followed by the bhikkhus. He putting away the killing of living beings, abstains from the slaughter of life, putting aside the rod, putting aside the sword, ashamed of cruelty, merciful, compassionate, and kind to all living beings. Putting away the taking of what has not been given him, he abstains from accepting what is not given. He takes what is given expecting only what is given, he passes his life in honesty, with a self become pure. Putting away the unchaste life, he is chaste, not unchaste, refraining from sexual life, from village nature. Putting away lying words, he refrains from telling a lie, speaks the truth, always aiming at the truth, is trustworthy, never betraying his trust to the world. Putting away slanderous speech, he refrains from calumny, hearing something at one place, he does not relate the same at another place with a view to foment quarrel against the former party. Hearing something elsewhere, he does not relate it here with a view to foment a quarrel against the people there. Thus as a reconciliator of those that have separated, as an augmenter of the unity of those who are already united, rejoicing in union, jubilant over unity, he is in the habit of uttering words tending to reunion. Putting away rough words, he refrains from offensive language. He speaks those words that are blameless, pleasing to the ear, affectionate, appealing to the heart, refined, gladdening the people, captivating the heart of many. Putting away silly talk, he refrains from idle talk, speaks at the right time, speaks what is true, speaks according to the good, according to religion, according to self-control, utters speech worthy of being treasured up, sometimes with illustrations, clearly defined, pregnant with meaning. He refrains from doing injury to the forms of life whether in the germinal or grown-up state. He takes but one meal a day, not eating at night, refraining from an untimely meal. He abstains from being a spectator at dances, songs, music, and amusements. He abstains from wearing garlands, besmearing and adorning his body with scents and unguents, and using articles for beautifying. He abstains from using high and fine couches. He abstains from taking gold and silver. He abstains from accepting uncooked rice, uncooked meat, women and girls, male and female slaves, goat and sheep, fowls and pigs, elephants, cows, horses and mules, fields and residences, as gifts. He refrains from the practice of acting as a go-between or a messenger. He abstains from buying and selling. He abstains from cheating with scales or coins or measures. He abstains from the crooked way of bribery, cheating, and fraud. He abstains from mutilating, killing, putting in bonds, highway robbery, dacoity, and acts of violence. He is satisfied with robes just enough to protect his body, with arms just enough to feed his stomach, wherever he goes taking these with him. Just as a winged bird wherever it flies with just the load of its wings. In the same way the bhikkhu is satisfied with robes just enough to protect his body, with arms just enough to feed his stomach, wherever he goes taking these with him. Endowed with these Aryan moral precepts, he experiences within himself the happiness which is blameless. He, having seen an object with his eye, does not fasten his mind upon the general form of details thereof, but sets himself to restrain that which gives occasion for the sinful immoral tendencies. Covetousness, and dejection to flow in over him while he was dwelling unrestrained as to the sense of sight. He guards the faculty of sight, he attains to control over the sense of sight. Similarly, having heard sound with his ear, having smelt an odor with his nose, having tasted a savor with his tongue, having touched a tangible thing with his body, having cognized a mental object with his mind, he does not fasten his mind upon the general form of details thereof, but sets himself to restrain that which gives an occasion for the sight and immoral tendencies. Covetousness, and dejection to flow in over him while he was dwelling unrestrained as to his mind, his faculty of thought. He guards his mind, he attains to control over the faculty of thought. Endowed with this Aryan mastery over the senses, he experiences within himself the happiness which is blameless. In going forth and in coming back, he acts deliberately, and as also in looking at or around, in stretching forth his arm, or in drawing it in again, in putting on the sangati and other robes, or in carrying the alms bowl, in eating or drinking, in masticating or swallowing, in obeying the calls of nature, in going or standing or sitting, in sleeping or waking, in speaking or in remaining in a state of silence. Endowed with this Aryan moral behavior and endowed also with this excellent practice of mindfulness and awareness. Endowed also with this Aryan way of contentment. He takes shelter in a lonely spot, whether it be forest, or the foot of a tree, or a hillside, or a grotto, or a rocky cave, or a cemetery, or a forest tract, or an open field, or a heap of straw. He, returning thither after his round for alms, seats himself cross-legged when his meal is done, keeping his body erect, setting mindfulness ahead. Putting away the hankering after the world, he dwells with his mind free from covetousness, he purifies his mind of greed. Putting away the evil propensities to injure, he dwells with a heart free from ill will. Compassionate and kind to all living beings, he purifies his mind of malevolence. Putting away laziness and drowsiness, he dwells being free therefrom. Conscious of the presence of light, mindful and aware of experiences, he purifies his mind of sloth and torpor. Putting away worry and flurry, he dwells free from fretfulness. With his heart tranquil within, he purifies his mind of worry and flurry. Putting away perplexity, he dwells free from doubt. No longer doubting as to what is good, he purifies his mind of skepticism. Putting away these 5 hindrances which trouble the heart and weaken insight, he eschewing sensual desires, eschewing evil states, enters upon and dwells in the first stage of ecstatic meditation, attended with applied and sustained thought, joy, and bliss born of mental isolation. With the cessation of applied and sustained thought, he enters upon and dwells in the second stage of ecstatic meditation. A state of joy and bliss born of concentration free from applied and sustained thought, a state of concentration of mind, and inner tranquilization of heart. By absence of passionate longing for joy, he remains in equanimity. And aware of his mental states and experiences, he enjoys bliss through his body, which the Aryas describe when they say, "The man serene and mindful dwells at ease." And thus he dwells entering upon the third stage of ecstatic meditation, then putting away both ease and pain. And with the previous dying away of joys and griefs, he dwells entering upon the fourth stage of meditation, void of ease and pain, a state made pure by equanimity and thoughtfulness. Now with his mind thus concentrated, rendered supremely pure and bright, freed from contamination, with disturbing factors cleared off, rendered soft and pliant, fixed, and unperturbed, he bends forth his mind to acquire the knowledge enabling him to remember his previous births. He calls to mind previous existences in various shapes. It may be 1 birth, 2 births, 3, 4, 5 to 10, to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000 or 100,000 births in many periods of cosmic revolution. In many periods of envelopment and development taken together to the effect there I have been born under such and such a name, in such and such a family, of such and such a caste, lived on such and such kinds of food, experienced such and such pleasure and pain, and had such and such an end of that life. When I had deceased from that state I was reborn in another state, where I was of such and such a name, of such and such a family, of such and such a caste, lived upon such and such kinds of food, experienced such and such pleasure and pain, such was the end of that life, having again deceased from that state I was reborn here. Thus does he recall in manifold ways his previous dwelling places with forms of destinies in details. And again with his mind thus concentrated, rendered supremely pure and bright, freed from contamination, with disturbing factors cleared off, rendered soft and pliant, fixed and unperturbed, he bends forth his mind to acquire the perception of appearance and disappearance of other beings. He sees with clear vision clarified, surpassing that of ordinary human beings, living beings deceasing from one state and being reborn into another. He perceives beings of inferior or superior order, good-looking and ugly, well-situated or ill-fated, faring according to their own karma. He recognizes that these are verily beings guilty of evil deeds, of offenses committed by way of words and thoughts, calumniators of the Aryas, upholders of erroneous views, adhering to practices associated with erroneous judgment. They on the dissolution of the body after death, are reborn in hell, in a condition of utter ruin, a woeful state of pain. That those others are, on the other hand, beings who came into full possession of good deeds, of merits earned by them on account of words and in thoughts. not reviling the Aryas, upholders of right views, adhering to practices associated with sound judgment. They on the dissolution of the body after death are reborn in the heavenly world, to a happy destination. Thus does he see with Deva vision clarified, surpassing that of ordinary human beings, living beings deceasing from one state and being reborn into another. He perceives beings of inferior or superior order, good-looking and ugly, well-situated or ill-fated, faring according to their own karma. Now again with his mind thus concentrated, rendered supremely pure and bright, freed from contamination, with disturbing factors cleared off, rendered soft and pliant, fixed and unperturbed, he bends forth his mind to acquire the knowledge of the process of the destruction of sinful tendencies. He truly understands that this is suffering and that this is the genesis of suffering, that this is the cessation of suffering, that this is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. He truly knows that these are the sinful tendencies, that this is their genesis, etc. When he knows and sees thus, his mind becomes free from the tendency to sensual pleasures, from the tendency to be reborn, and from the tendency to ignorance. And when the mind is emancipated, there is the knowledge that it is emancipated, and he knows that birth is destroyed, the holy life has been led, duties have been accomplished, and there is no more of these conditions. Thus a man does not become a self-mortifier, nor become addicted to practices leading to self-mortification, and is not a mortifier of others, and is not devoted to practices leading to mortification of others. He tortures neither himself nor the self of others, and in this world he, without any hankering, at peace, cool, enjoying bliss, lives with a self become godlike,